An agreement with Tyson Fury on a two-fight deal, says promoter Eddie Hearn. Britain's rival champions have been holding talks over an undisputed world heavyweight title fight and have thrashed out initial terms for two blockbuster battles. "We are making real progress," Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn exclusively told Sky Sports News. "There is still a lot to overcome, but we are looking at venues and dates. If these fights do happen, and with boxing fans starved of action due to COVID-19, Joshua and Fury could well be one of the biggest fights of all time, in my opinion. I'd love to see the fight or fights put on in the UK, but I'm guessing it's going to be Saudi Arabia and shown on TV to a worldwide audience. So how does this fight break down? Well, at this moment, it's Tyson Fury's star that is in the ascendancy after his great performance against Deontay Wilder. After the first fight with Wilder, I think Fury found that the best way to fight the American was to take the fight to him, to push him back and apply constant pressure. And, as we saw, Deontay was completely uncomfortable and had no idea on how to fight off the back foot. Wilder is used to coming forward, intimidating his opponents and looking for that one big shot. Fury's superb game plan negated that, and when Wilder did launch forward, Tyson either stepped out of range or tied up. Now, will Tyson fight the same way against Joshua? In my opinion, no. Joshua, who has been often criticised for not being able to box and for being a bit robotic in the ring, showed that in his second fight with Ruiz that he could box and move. A very different fighter than the one who had turned up to his first disastrous fight with the Mexican-American. Losing some of that big muscle mass also helped with his movement and speed. People will often say that Fury is, out of the two of them, the more skilled boxer. Well, he will be. Fury has been boxing since the age of 10 and has had many more years to develop his muscle memory and his boxing skills than Joshua. Anthony Joshua started boxing at the age of 19 in November 2008. And within less than a year was national novice champion. He became ABA national champion just a year later. Joshua has had to learn on the job as his success came really quickly. So Fury will always have that edge on Joshua. Also, we have to remember that Fury was starting his professional career just at the time AJ was starting to box. Sometimes when people talk about this potential fight, or when comparing the two boxers, they will bring up their one common opponent, Vladimir Klitschko, which I think is wrong, and I shall tell you why. When Klitschko fought Tyson, he had pretty much a set style of fighting. He would jab, right hand, left hook, and then when in close would tie up his opponent. He had no idea how to cope with the Englishman. Fury teased, frustrated, and fought in a style which is completely unorthodox, and to which Vladimir had no idea how to handle, and was completely unprepared for. Take a look at Tyson's footwork in that fight. It's not something you would teach to your average fighter. It was Fury's version of Willie Pep's famous V-shaped footwork, and like I said, Vladimir had no answer to it. But then take a look at Klitschko's training for Anthony Joshua. Jonathan Banks worked on making him much more mobile, tirelessly working on footwork, balance and movement, often using smaller sparring partners and one focus mitt to really get Vlad moving and working on his speed. I know Vlad ultimately lost that fight, but the difference in his mobility and the way he came at the fight was plain to see. So I think it's a bit of a red herring to compare the two fighters' performances against Vlad. So, what are the keys to victory for Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua? I don't think he'll use entirely the same tactics that he used for Wilder. Joshua, as he proved against Ruiz, can move and punch and has miles better footwork than Deontay Wilder. So if Fury constantly tries to put Joshua under pressure and back him up, I think he could well walk into a big shot. Joshua has a lot more punch variety than Wilder, so again, Fury could walk into something big. I feel that a mixture of the tactics he used with Klitschko, frustrating, teasing and being unorthodox, and then applying pressure in spots will be the best policy. Tyson needs to control the distance, which he normally does superbly with foot feints and those herky-jerky upper body movements. You will notice that Fury always fights with a broken rhythm, and as an opponent that is so difficult to react to counter. For another great example of a fighter who fights with broken rhythm, just take a look at the great Roberto Duran. Fury has also proved that when he puts that huge body weight into his punches, he is devastating, but must, I feel in this fight, choose his spots. Keys to victory for Anthony Joshua. One thing I feel is paramount that I really hope AJ has continued to work on his movement. A heavyweight who can punch and move is a nightmare. So Joshua's movement is paramount. Joshua also has to work on controlling the distance, and he does that by not falling for Fury's taunts and feints and choosing his spots to attack. It's a cliche, but Joshua has to establish that jab right from the off. It has to be laser sharp, and even if it doesn't land, it has to be in Fury's face all night long. 1-1-2 if possible, and out. Joshua also has to have his stamina and fitness on point. He can't go back to putting on that huge muscle mass. He has to come in not too light and not too heavy, because he must be prepared for 12 long, hard rounds. Another thing Joshua must be prepared for: when Tyson does get a little frustrated, he tends to like to change into southpaw, and Joshua must be prepared for that also. And when the fighters are in close, no firefights, which was his downfall in the first Ruiz fight. Tie up, control, reset. If there is a chance to use that great uppercut, use it, but do not leave yourself open to a counter. Anthony Joshua must keep things simple and look for opportunities, because if it goes 12 rounds, there will be some. If Joshua is getting outboxed, and I do see that happening, he must remain patient and look for those chances and take them, of course. And the last thing, and this is really important, Anthony Joshua must remain calm. This will be the biggest fight of his life. And in the White fight, the Klitschko fight and the Ruiz fight, he got carried away and made some silly mistakes. So in this fight, whatever's going on, whatever's happening there, he must remain calm and cool. And if there are opportunities, take them, but do not overcommit. So let's hope this fight or fights come off and we see a classic or two. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.